Hi everyone, welcome to another Java coding tutorial here. I'm going to be doing a error guard demo. I want to show you how to guard some of your inputs, so user inputs. Users can make mistakes and we want to be able to deal with those mistakes properly and not crash the program. So I'm going to write some code first and I'll show you what the errors are and how to fix them. First thing I'm going to do is create a scanner. I'm just going to call it input equals new scanner system.in. And I'm going to right click this thing and then fix my imports. All right. So the first thing let's do is let's read in a double from the keyboard. So let's go double X, and then we can go X. So wait, system out.print. Please enter a number, and then X equals input dot next double. I hate when that happens. Okay, and then I'll just print it out. You entered plus X. Okay, so super simple program. All I'm doing is I'm printing the user, please enter a number. I'm getting X from the keyboard, and then I'm printing it out. Let's make sure I always do a lot of testing and make sure this works before I do anything else. Type in 9, 9 comes out. Beautiful. Okay, now let's say I've got a program, maybe it's my geometry calculator, something more sophisticated than this, but either way I've got to ask the user for a number. Now you always have to assume, frankly, that the user is dumb. Users, you will be amazed what they will do. You ask them to enter their age and they'll type it, with words, and all kinds of goofy stuff happens. So sometimes you have to guard your errors, your inputs. So what happens if someone types a letter here or leaves it blank potentially? What happens? So let's try the blank first. Blank doesn't really crash it, so that's no problem. But what about a letter? The letter A. Okay, there we go. So this can crash the program. If I was making a very professional looking program, I would not want that to occur. I would probably want to give the user a second chance or something to deal with that. So the way we can deal with it is actually right in here. So in Java, these errors right here, these are called exceptions. These are runtime errors. So a runtime error basically means your code is fine. It's the user did something to cause it to crash. Like this. This is an incorrect user input, and it caused it to crash. So the nice thing about Java is we can deal with these exceptions pretty easily, as long as we know what the name is. So in this particular case, the name of the exception is called an input mismatch exception. It's important to know exactly what it's called. That's the error that I'm looking for. Okay, so how do we deal with this now? So what we're going to do is we know that the error occurs right in this line, right? Because it's not the prints. The prints is not what's crashing. It's the next double that's crashing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to run these lines. So I'm going to use a try, open a curly bracket here, close the curly bracket there. So the idea is I'm going to try to run these lines right here. And if there's any errors, I'm going to catch, and that's what the catch command does. So I'm going to catch, what was it again? The input mismatch exception. So catch input mismatch exception. I feel like I spelled that wrong. Mismatch? No, it's okay. I thought it was mismatched. So catch an input mismatch exception. Now here, I actually have to give this thing a name. I usually just give it a short form, whatever this is. So I just call it IME, and then I put curly brackets here. And you may have to import this thing. So I'm going to fix the imports on it. And now it recognizes what an input mismatch exception is. And so this code right here, this is the code that will run if the error occurs. So for this time, I'm just going to say system.err println, please enter a valid number. Just to show you this thing is going to trigger. I'm then going to just fix my formatting here just so you can see it a bit better. So again, what I've done is I've surrounded these 3 lines of code with a try, and I've got a catch down here to catch any input mismatch exception that occurs anywhere in that code. It's going to jump down in here, and it's going to say, please enter a valued number. The ERR just means error, so it's a system error print, which means it's going to come out in red. That's all it does. It just changes the color to red. Okay, let's test it. Type in 9, that still works out perfectly. Type in a letter, and we've got this error message. It's better than the crazy exception message that was there before. You actually could still print that if you wanted. If you actually printed out the variable IME right here, that's what I called mine, you can actually still display that exception if you want. Sometimes it's good to leave that in there for now, just while you're debugging, and then later on you can take that out. So then I can see exactly what the error was. It was an input mismatch exception. So sometimes it's nice to be able to actually print it out, but generally you don't want that in a finished program. Okay, so right now, it didn't actually give me another chance. What I could do is I could put this in here, copy this and put it inside, and give the user one more shot, but what if they screw that one up? What I usually like doing is to create a loop. My idea here is I want this to loop forever until they enter a valid number. So the way I would do it is I create a Boolean variable. And a Boolean variable is just a true or false variable. And my Boolean, I usually call this thing is error. And I set this thing to true to start. And then what I do is I create a while loop. So I write while is error equals true. Curly bracket here. Close the curly bracket after the catch. And then I write, and that is it. Format it. Okay. I'm going to add one more thing here. I'm going to add right here is error equals false. Okay. So let me show you how it works, and then I'll explain the code. Okay, so 9 works perfectly. All right, so we're going to test this out with a crash instead here. And type in the letter A, and it craps out. Okay, so why is this occurring? So this is an infinite loop, and the reason it's an infinite loop is because, and I didn't understand this at first actually, it's a weird way in which this function or this method behaves. Next double, what it does is when I hit, say, the letter A and hit enter, okay, what's happening is that A is sitting in memory. So it hasn't been used. It's not been used as the next double. So it's just kind of sitting there right now. And so it's got this letter in the keyboard buffer right now. And what's happening is that as it's looping around, that A was never actually used, and it's trying to run right here, but it's crashing there because it still has an A. It wants to use it. So the way that I found that I can fix this is to basically do something like this. I can write input dot next line. This doesn't have to save anywhere. Like I don't have to print out the next line or anything like that. But what this thing does is it will actually consume any characters or enters or anything like that that's inside of the keyboard buffer. So this will just clear everything else, so that the next time around, when I try and do the next double, that letter A is not sitting there anymore. So let's see if it works any better this time. So again, let's do the 9. 9 works. Let's try an A. There we go. Okay, now we don't have the infinite loop anymore. This right here is clearing out the scanner input buffer. So it's getting rid of any characters that are in there, and it's going to allow me to type again. So this time, if I do an A again, it's still broken. 9 works no problem. So there's some weird stuff happening sometimes with the scanner, and that's just something to be aware of, is that when you use next double, it does not clear any enters or any characters that are there if they're not doubles. So you have to do sometimes something like this just to clear out the buffer, clear everything out so that it works better. So this code here is really good if you're using the scanner for input and you need it to run forever and get yourself a double or an int. It will work the same way. Now let's say I'm going to do something else. Let's say I'm going to read in a number with the JOptionPane. JOptionPane is a bit different, typically because it comes in as a string instead. So let me show you how that would work. So I'm going to go double, or let's use an int instead, int y. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to probably need a string variable too. I'm going to call this temp val. And I'm going to write temp val equals JOptionPane dot show input dialog. Please enter an integer. And then I'm going to have to fix the imports. So this thing, it doesn't know what it is. I'm going to fix the imports. The JOptionPane is part of the swing package, so it shows up right here. And so now I've got it asked for the integer, now I'm going to convert it. So I'm going to say y equals integer dot parse int bracket temp val. Parse int, integer dot parse int, what that does is it actually converts a string into an integer. So when I run this line right here, please enter an integer, and it's using the JOptionPane, I'm going to type in a number or a letter, whatever, okay? No matter what I type, it's going to come in as a string. That's why this is a string right here. It's a string variable. This line right here, what it'll do is convert it from the string into an integer and store it in y. Let's just show you how that thing works. Okay, so the first one was my scanner. I know that one's fine. Here comes my JOptionPane now. It takes a second to load. Please enter an integer. I type in 8. And it's fine. The program stops running. It didn't print it out. So I should probably do that. I can just print out y right here. Just to show you it works. Okay, we're going to enter number 5, and we see the 5 right there. And 5 is the int value y, so we know it is an integer, right? Now, let's say I want to guard this type of input. It might be different. It might not be the input mismatch exception, so let's crash it on purpose and see what we get. So the first one we know is good. With that one, we'll put a 9. Let's type in the letter A. Type the letter A, and we've got a different kind of exception. Okay, so the JOptionPane is a totally different beast, and it's actually not the JOptionPane that's crashing. It's actually this method right here. The reason I know that is because it says it right here. It's part of integer.parseInt, and the error that I'm getting is actually a number format exception. It's this exception right here. So let's guard for this specific error. So I'm going to copy that, just so I don't have to retype it again. And let's try to run all this code. So we're going to try to run this, curly bracket, close the curly bracket. We're going to catch, and I'm going to paste that error in. So number format exception, I'm going to call this thing NFE. And inside of here, again, system.err.println error in your input in the JOptionPane. Okay, format that, and again, let's see what happens. Let's make sure that we can get the error message to pop up. So that one we know is fine. We're not going to worry about it. This one, let's crash it with the letter A again. Okay, so it actually didn't crash. It displayed the message exactly the way I wanted it to. So again, I could copy and paste these lines right here into here, and then re-ask the user. But let's make a loop just like I did up here. So a second type of loop. So let's go. We can reuse the isError variable. So I've created it right here. I'm going to reuse it. I'm just going to reset it back to true. And we're going to use the while loop again. So while the isError equals true, curly bracket, close the curly bracket right after the catch, and you're going to format your code so it shifts everything over. Okay, so we know this is the line right here that's crapping out. We know that integer.parseInt is what is causing it to crash. And when this line runs, it is jumping into the error message. So if we can get through that message, then we know that it's actually been good. So I'm going to put is error equals false right here. So again, what will happen is that if it crashes, it will skip this line. It won't print this line at all. It's just gonna jump into here. So if it runs successfully, it will run is error equals false, and that will cause the loop to break. Let's try it out. Okay, this first one's good. Let's give an error message. Hopefully right here. A. Even an enter is fine. 5. There we go. So it kept going. The only thing I would maybe do is I would take this int y and move it outside the while loop. The only reason I don't like it there is because of it's called variable scope. So if I create the variable inside of here, then I can only see it inside of this area. If I try to use the y somewhere else, like down here, I would not be able to print it out because it wouldn't know what y is. If y is right here, then it's no problem. But if it's inside this loop, once I'm out of the loop, I can't see it anymore. So the same thing I had up here. I had double X outside the loop, which is good. I made a mistake here, so I just took it out. So anyways, I got two different types of user input, and I showed you how to guard them. You could do the same thing with mathematics as well. So like say you're trying to guard for, let's say, a division by 0, right? You're going to get a mathematical error. You can guard for that. If you can see the exception come up, then you can guard for it. As long as you know exactly what the exception name is, you can do a try and a catch around it and guard for those types of errors. So again, I know it's a bit of a longer video, but I hope you learned something here. You can use this code anytime you want. So this code at the top here, this is for the scanner. And this code down here is for the JOptionPane. And feel free to use those in any program you want. It's a little bit of work, but you can make your program a lot more robust and a lot less prone to errors if you guard your inputs like this.